Welcome to another NEBA Spotlight. Today, I'm very happy to present our friend Rick. Rick, tell us about you. Tell us about your business.
Yeah, so I'm Rick Fadden. I work for MBA Mortgage. I'm a mortgage loan officer there. Normally, when I come here, I talk about the unusual products we offer, or something to think about where you don't think a mortgage makes sense, but it might actually make sense for someone. But today, I'm actually just going to talk about me, my background, and my company, just to give you a little more detail into who I am and who my company is. So. Starting with me, so Rick Fadden, I grew up in Concord, Mass, which is, for those that aren't from Mass, Concord's about half an hour west of Boston. It was a great place to grow up. I grew up there basically my entire childhood. I lived in New Hampshire a little bit when I was very young, but then moved to Concord and grew up there, went through the Concord public school system, graduated from Concord Carlisle in 2010 and then went to study finance at Bentley University in Waltham. Uh, Bentley was also awesome, and got to study finance and learned that finance is a field that I want to go into, but didn't know exactly what type of finance I wanted to go into. So I worked for Merrill Lynch when I was in school, worked for Fidelity when I was in school, and then ended up working for a company, AEW Capital Management. So I did office industrial asset management for them. Did that for about a year or so, and then was looking to make some sort of switch. So I ended up starting a commuter parking company. So I worked with businesses and property owners around the MBTA, commuter rail and subway lines. So the MBTA is the kind of like the Boston, Massachusetts commuter rail and subway lines. So I had a business where basically at the time the MBTA system has, parking lots at each commuter rail and subway stop. And for a lot of those, they ended up filling up very quickly. So in order to get a space there, you had to be there at 7, 7:15. Some were fine, but most of them you had to get there much earlier than you actually wanted to. So I worked with businesses and property owners that were around those stops and rented out their underutilized parking to commuters. So I did that for about 5 years or so and grew up a pretty nice business. It was a nice growing business, had a lot of locations, had a few hundred people parking with me every day. And then COVID hit and commuter parking, not the business to be in during COVID. Commuter rail ridership dropped about 98%. And basically overnight lost all of the customers that I had built for 5 years to zero in about probably a week or so. Um, so worked for about another year trying to build it back up, hoping that people would return, and did get some people that would return a little bit here and there, but just not enough to make it make sense to continue. So had to make some sort of a switch. So I was, thinking, okay, I've done this for 6 years. What do I go into next? So I had a finance background, a real estate background, and a parking background. So real estate, finance, parking, obviously, like any business, a lot involved for it, but mainly a sales-based business. So real estate, finance, sales, and mortgages just kind of made sense. So was looking around, what mortgage company do I want to work for? Do I want to go into, underwriting, processing, loan officer? And loan officer made the most sense. And the company I'm with now, MBA Mortgage, really stood out to me because had a paid training program, number one. Most are not paid, which was good for someone just starting out where you're not going to make a lot of money in it. And also a very intensive training program. Most places are, you just kind of show up and they'll maybe train you a little bit and then you're kind of on your own at a lot of places. Where here it was a very involved 6-month training program led by the company owners. And, it gave me the opportunity to jump into a new industry and immediately work on over the 6 months. I probably worked on 60, 70 loans during that time, all different types, where a lot of other places I may have worked on one, two, three, just not a lot. So really was a great opportunity to kind of springboard into the industry and get a lot of experience in a short amount of time and kind of get my career going. So MBA Mortgage is based in Quincy, Mass. We also have another Quincy location, which is pretty much just Mandarin and Cantonese speaking. We cover a lot of languages, and English is obviously our largest, but Mandarin and Cantonese are kind of our second and third largest options, but a lot of other language options as well. We have smaller offices in Worcester, Athol, and Falmouth. So kind of all Eastern Massachusetts based offices. Um, but we also cover Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Maine, and Florida for 1 to 4 unit residential. For investment properties and commercial properties, we can do nationwide. Both of those can be a little bit more limited, especially on the commercial side, but for the right transaction could potentially make sense. Our company is a veteran-owned and operated company. We are owned by a disabled veteran. He's actually paralyzed from the neck down, and runs our company. We do a lot of veteran causes. We are the Disabled American Veterans Employer of the Year this year, and that's kind of a big part of our business. We do obviously a lot of VA loans, a lot of veteran stuff. So that's a cause that's really important to us in our company. And another thing that I think is very good about our company is we are about 70 people or so. So bunch loan officers and then other sort of staff, so processors, office managers, compliance, stuff like that. So we're in a really interesting mix where we're large enough to be able to offer a lot of very unusual products and a lot of support and kind of all the benefits of a very large company, while also being small enough to have kind of like a family environment and a family transaction where a lot of places, if you go somewhere and it's, if it's too small, they don't have the options that are available. If it's too large, you feel like you're just a number and another transaction in that process. Where here, we're in a nice middle ground where you have all the options, but you really feel like you're a person and not just a number for it when you're doing it. So a really nice mix of stuff here. And then I'll just kind of leave you with a couple ideas on mortgages where a lot of people think that they don't qualify or it's not an option for them. It's just not a goal that they're going to reach. And oftentimes that's not the case. It's just people think, they put a bunch of challenges in there that really aren't there. And, just need to talk with someone to figure out, what do I need to do? And then another thing is with refinancing, it doesn't hurt to take a look and see if refinancing might make sense. I was saying in the breakout rooms, rates have dropped significantly in the last month. So anyone that's purchased a home or taken a mortgage in the last year and a half might make sense to just take a look and see if it makes sense. It doesn't cost anything. It takes about a 10-minute conversation and can give you a good idea if it makes sense for you. So that's really my presentation, a little background on me and my company and a couple of things to think about. And thanks for having me.
Great job, Rick. We look forward to supporting you and your business and how people can reach out to you if they want more information.
I put my information in the chat. Either email or phone are generally best. But really, anyway, email, phone, if you want to LinkedIn message me, that's fine too. Really, anything's fine.
Awesome. What's your email address?
Email is rfadden, RFADDEN, at mbamortgageco.com.
Awesome.